Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will do a presentation, and our group consists of me, Andika, Zulian Alfian, Firdaus Selong, and Hendra Bangwan. So the material will be explained by my friend. Okay, let's check this out.
Assalamualaikum. Guys, I'll try to answer the question for number one about translation theory. It is the study of proper principle of translation. It's termed as translation theory. This theory, based on a solid foundation of understanding of how language works. Translation theory recognizes that different languages encode meaning in different forms, yet guides translators to find appropriate ways of preserving meaning while using the most appropriate forms of each language. Translation theory includes principles for translating figurative language, dealing with lexical mismatches, rhetorical questions, inclusion of cohesion markers, and many other topics crucial to good translation. Basically, there are two competing theories of translation. In one, the predominant purpose is to express as exactly as possible the full force and meaning of every word and turn of phrase in the original. And in the other, predominant purpose is to produce a result that does not read like a translation at all, but rather move in its new dress with the same ease as in its native rendering. In the hands of a good translator, neither of these two approaches can ever be entirely ignored. Conventionally, it is suggested that in order to perform their job successfully, translators should meet three important requirements. They should be familiar with the source language, the target language, and the subject matter. Thank you.
Okay, the question is the relationship between language, culture, define, and translation. We can think of language and culture as a coincides. Language, on the one hand, is the cultural product of a particular society, while culture is the land where language grows and develops. Language thus records every values, norms, and beliefs contained in the culture in which it grows. A translator who is in cultural mediator must pay attention to the cultural aspects of the text he is translating, because translating is essentially conveying the meaning of the source language into the target language, where the meaning itself is closely tied to the culture of the speaking community. A translator must have adequate cultural competence in both languages. Without this competence, it will not succeed producing an accurate and acceptable translation of the text. And suggestions or advice for translators must read and understand various references to the vocabulary and the context for using the words according to the culture to be translated. If we learn a foreign language, we also have to study the culture. Thank you.
Principle of translation. Translation should reflect accurately the meaning of the original text. Nothing should be arbitrarily added or removed. Sometimes part of the meaning can be transposed. The following question may be very helpful. The second is, it will be better if the translator does not change the style of the original, but if it is needed, for example, because the text is full of repetition or mistake in writing, the translator may change it. And the third is the ordering of the word. An idea should match the original as closely as possible. This is particularly important in translating legal document, guarantees, contract, etc. However, differences in the language structure often require change in the form and the order of word. When in doubt, underline in the original text the word on which the main stress falls. And the fourth is languages often differ greatly in their levels of formality in a given context. For example, in the business letter, to resolve these differences, translator must distinguish between formal and fixed expression and personal expression, in which the writer or speaker sets the tone. And 5. One of the frequent criticism of translation is that it does not sound natural. This is because the translator type and choice of the word are too strongly molded by the original text. A good way to avoid the influence of the source language is to set the text aside and translate a few sentences aloud from memory. This will suggest natural patterns often in the first language which not come to mind when the eye is fixed on the external.
Okay guys, that is all from my group. So if you have any question, just ask us on the comment box below. Okay everyone, thank you. Good afternoon.